everybody. In this video, I am going to show you guys how to start the stick welding, or also known as arc welding. You are going to be using an electrode, okay? And you will be having your metal, and we're just simply learning how to start the arc and how to create a bead. If you get really good at it, then you can grab scrap pieces and you can start welding different joints and things like that. A few things that you're going to need. Have to have a welding jacket on. Need to be safe. All hair must be tied back. You will need to have safety glasses. You will have to have a welding helmet. You will need a pair of welding gloves. A few other things that you might want to have over here. We have wire brushes. Now when there's arc welding, it creates this slag on top that we'll need to chip away. So on the other end, we need the chipper. You might also want a pair of pliers. The pliers are for when the metal is hot. You don't have to burn your hands. You can grab your material with the pliers. You're going to want some of those things. Can you grab it with your gloves? Yes, but sometimes it's so hot it even heats through your gloves. So that's why we always have a pair of pliers. At the start of class, you're going to come up to the teacher and you will end up getting 3 electrodes to start with. All right, once we see that you're not wasting them and things like that, you can absolutely have more if you need to. Then you're going to come and get your station set up. I'm going to be welding on this table. Right now it's a metal table. You will be welding in the one of the 3 booths back here. They have fire brick on the inside of them. We do this for beginning welding due to the fact that so many people end up welding their material to the table. Then we have to grind it off and cut it off and stuff like that. So it's just easier to start with fire brick. So to be able to get your ground, what you are going to do is you'll grab a scrap piece of metal. You'll clip your ground onto that. You will set this on the table, and then you'll set your material that you're going to weld on top of that. That will still have the current going through it, so it will be perfectly fine. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm just going to go ahead and use a metal table and ground onto there. Okay, a little different than the wire feed, we actually don't have a trigger. You are the trigger. What you're going to do is you would take your electrode and you will place it inside of the handle. You're going to just simply open this up, place your material inside of here. Couple things to remember when we have our electrode in here. If I have it sticking out the end, that's okay, but just know if you touch any metal surface, it will create that arc because the current will be running through it. All right, so always make sure that that you have your electrode still like below the plastic end. All right, now I'm going to get everything ready. With this, I do not need to have any gas for it, so it's basically just making sure that my settings are correct. The machines that we have here, they do run AC or DC. What we have right now, we have it set up at a DC plus, that's our knob up on the top. And then down at the, for the amperage control, we have it between like a 150 and a 160, all right? Hopefully when you come back here, nobody's messed with it, it's already set up for you. But if you feel something's not right, just make sure you come and get the teacher and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so get my, oops, I forgot to put my goggles on. This is where you really want to make sure you have goggles, because when we chip away that slag, then we are going to, might get something in our eye. So have everything ready. Okay, get my gloves on. I'm going to get this out of the way so you can see a little bit better. Get my gloves on. Now, the old saying goes, if there's slag, you drag. So with this, when I start to drag, before I turn anything on, I'm going to place my electrode inside of the handle. Then as I do this, I like to be comfortable, all right? You want to rest your arm on something. You want to hold on to the electrode. Get in a comfortable body position, because sometimes you could be, when you're welding, you could be in that position for quite a while. We're just aiming to get about 2 inches of a bead. So when I do this, I tend to hold up towards the top of the handle. Some people like to hold towards the back. I just figure with my smaller hands, it's easier for me to grip up here. And then I just rest my arm here, and I actually use the back of my left hand to help me guide as I go through. There are 2 different ways that you can start your arc. One is you can hover over the top of it, and the current will actually jump from your material to the end of the electrode to start. Or there's also a scratch technique where you can take and you can just scratch along here. I find that beginners have a harder time with the scratch because their electrode tends to stick to the material. So it might be easiest for you to just get in a comfortable position and hover over the top, bring your electrode down towards the metal. And then we're simply going to drag our material going at an even speed, pulling it, okay? You do not want to push with this. Wire feed, you want to push. With arc, you want to go ahead and drag your material. So I have all my settings correct on my welder. I'm going to turn it on. That's all we have to do. So now this is live. If I touch any metal part, it's going to start to arc. So this is where we want to make sure anybody around us knows that we are going to be doing this. You can close the welding curtains. When you bring your hood down, I always like to say the word cover so that anybody around me knows, oh, let's bring our hood down. I don't want to be looking at that arc. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cover. And I'm going to hover. All right, so as I'm going, I'm dragging my electrode and I'm pushing down in. I'm not pushing really hard, but if I don't like move the electrode in as I'm dragging, it's going to end up burning up, and you'll notice there's a lot more sparks and spatter. I'll try and do that. See, I'm not sure how well it'll turn out in the video, but I'll try real quick. So cover. Not sure how well that was able to show up in the video, but I would pull back a little bit and you would notice that if you take a look on my metal, it is not a good bead whatsoever because I'm pulling back so it's not actually getting the weld inside of there. Now when I'm done, I'm going to take the electrode out. I can place that down. I remember, don't want to hold it in the handle. And then I'm going to turn off the machine so I can evaluate what my weld actually looks like. This is where the wire brush and our little chipper come in handy. Safety glasses are a must. You need to make sure that you have those safety glasses on, because as I chip this, some parts are going to go flying. All right, so I'm just simply going to take the end and I go ahead and all my slag comes off. What I'm looking for in my weld, number one, I want to make sure that it's a nice straight line. I want to make sure that the bead is even, and you're going to be able to notice that there's little rings that are going on there, almost like a half moon type shape. You want to make sure that that is even and straight going in the line. You're going to have to practice at this, okay? It's going to take a little bit of time. When you come to the end of a weld, just like we do with our wire feed, at the end of the weld, there's going to be a kind of a little crater on the end of it. Just take your electrode and do a little tiny circle, and then you can bring out the electrode when you're done. So if you have any questions on this, if you're struggling, some people find stick to be very easy. Some people find it to be the most difficult way of welding. Just please ask for any help that you need. When you're done with all of your things, you need to wind up your cords, place them back up on top of the welder, put all of your equipment and stuff away. So any questions, please make sure you ask.